Welcome back, everybody. We're back in the shop. It's pretty cold today. We got us a little heater going, and we got these 353s we picked up in the last video, and we're gonna start tearing them down. Dad's already going at this one, and they're pretty complete. At least we got the bolts for these, so that'll be nice. So one of the things we do when we tear them down, when everything comes off, everything gets its own little box. So we put all the parts taken off in a box. That way nothing gets lost or misplaced. Something we started doing a while back. So, and then all these we're gonna scope them with the camera, pull the valve covers off, spin them, check them all out, make sure everything's good with them internally. The heads aren't gonna come off these. These are just going to be kind of I guess like more of a stock build, just paint, stock front end kit gets painted, and they're all getting the Holley muscle car oil pans, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
we don't need the pans.
So we don't need to keep the pans. So all right. So I'm gonna set y'all up, and we're gonna continue on stripping these down. So now we're scoping them, and everything's looking good so far.
Oh yeah, see that's a factory paint mark that's still on the valve.
Factory paint on the valve is pretty cool.
Yeah, still on the valve.
So we got them all stripped down. Everything's boxed up. The oil pans are cracked loose, and Dad's gonna show us how he does his little paint prep. Normally we don't get to see any of this because he does it during the week when I'm at work, but. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to prep these for paint. And with it being so cold, I doubt we're going to paint anything. But
no, we're not. Humidity's way off.
Yeah, but we'll get them prepped up. So we're going to continue to scope the rest of these and make sure everything's cool on the inside of them. And then we'll be back with paint prep. Okay, so we got them all scoped. Everything looks good. And now Dad's going to start prepping one of these. I guess this one here.
Yeah, we'll start with this one here.
Okay.
Okay, first thing you do is, I got a bunch of extra bolts from
Yeah.
working on all these motors.
Yeah.
And if you want a good paint job,
Yeah.
what you want to do is get your box of bolts here, and you got extra spark plugs. So these go in the spark plug hole.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is keep the threads of your spark plug intact,
Yeah.
because you don't want to get overspray on the threads and stuff. So we put these in, and any time you spray in a primer, it's pretty thick, and then you're gonna put a top coat over the primer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you're gonna have to cover up all of the threaded hose, or you're gonna get paint down in all these threaded hose.
And you won't be able to get a bolt in there.
No, and then you're fighting the bolt, and if you get too much in it, it can crack. 'Cause this is aluminum. It's all aluminum.
You see, it's already starting to do that.
Yeah.
I think this one's a good example here. They get.
Yeah, if you do nothing to the motor at all,
Yeah, this is what happens.
that's what happens. Calcification or whatever
Yep.
they call it.
Yep.
So I just take just regular old paper, and I stick them down in there, because I don't want to get no overspray down in there where your direct injection goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I got these little guys. I use them on all the motors, and just pile them in there. It's just paper's all this is.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the injector's in there, your paint work will look better that way too, without having all that down in there. So I just save it from motor to motor. Okay, now on the front of the motor here, these are gaskets that hold your water pump on with, and these are just extra ones. So what I did, I made me a little, took some tape and taped them up, and they go on every motor I do. This is the LT. I got some for LS's too, but what that does is keep that gasket surface clean, and you don't get a bunch of paint on it. Then you wonder why your water pump's leaking later. And it's because you didn't take the precaution and cover these guys up here. So that goes on there like that, and then like these holes here, you'll use these when you put your new either CVF front kit or stock front kit. All you gotta do is stick a bolt in there. It's not that big a deal, you know. And man, when you get through painting this thing and you look at it with all these holes, it looks so much more professional and clean. It makes a real clean job out of it, you know. And you cover up all these holes. And like I said, I got plenty of bolts, so. And it don't have to be the right bolt. Just anything that's sticking there to keep the threads clean. Let's say you got a big bolt here, just put a small bolt in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it don't have to be the right size bolt. Weird looking like that, it don't matter. Just stick it in there, you know. It just keeps them threads, and then when you unscrew this, man, it just makes it so much better for putting your kit back together on it. Because you ain't get to worry about the threads being all crammed full of paint.
And I think all these are getting stock kits, so.
And believe me, I hate to come in behind somebody else's work. I hate people
Yeah.
coming in behind my work just as bad. And that's the reason I stress that, because I've come in behind people that's painted it, and they use that VHT paint, and it's got like I hate that paint.
And you use all what, Rust-Oleum,
I
right?
use Rust-Oleum. Rust-Oleum's the way to go.
The primer and the top coat?
Yes.
Yeah.
The VHT paint, it takes too long for it to dry. And there's a problem with that paint.
Do you think people would do that because it's the heat rating? They think
They think it needs it. These motors don't get that hot.
So what you're using is good enough for what does it say with the temperature, or?
Yeah, good for 250 degrees. That's,
Right. The block.
This motor's never gonna see that.
No, the block don't get that hot.
No. So, that being said, I've been behind somebody that used a VHT,
Right.
and they wanted their motor repainted.
Sure.
Well, then they didn't take precaution of putting all these bolts in like this, and they had the VHT plus the primer that they use or whatever. That stuff has a ceramic that gets down into the paint,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets really hard. It's a real hard surface. It's so hard that if it doesn't, the catalyst in the paint doesn't set up right, and you don't warm the motor up like it says on the cans,
Mm-hmm.
it will crack on you and flake.
Mm.
And it flakes, and then you got flaky looking paint. It looks horrible on the motor. I don't like it, so I don't use it. I've used it in the past and found out that Rust-Oleum's the way to go. So I just continue putting stuff in all the holes till I'm done. And it takes a while to do this.
Yeah.
Then I'll take some lacquer thinner and clean the whole thing to get all the oil off of the motor. Because you don't want any oil on it, because even with any pieces of leftover of oil on anything will make the primer even bubble up on you, and then you're starting all over again, trying to clean it. So it takes you time to do it right. It turns out nice. I think most of the motors I do look pretty good. But you gotta think about the guy that's gonna install this thing. Like these right here, this is your motor mounts.
Mm-hmm.
If you just pile a bunch of paint in there, he's ready to put this fancy motor in there, and he's fighting trying to get a motor bolt to go in his motor mount, and he's gonna be going, man, I wish they had not painted inside that threads, but not everybody does this. So this is what I do. Just fill up every hole you can. Just find a bolt that'll fit. Like I said, it don't have to be the exact same threads, because you're just gonna pull them out and go to the next motor. Whatever will fit in there and stay. And like this guy here, he gets a plug. I've got some of these little plugs. Gotta find the right one to fit it. Like that one fits it. Because you don't want to get paint up in there. Inside that is your reluctor wheel that runs off your crank.
Mm-hmm.
If you get paint on it, too much paint on it, what says here is the sensor, and it's a magnet. It picks up every time that wheel rolls around. That magnet tells how to stay in time.
Mm-hmm.
If you get too much paint on it, it can throw the motor out of time. there's a lot of little things that make sense to me to do them a certain way, but other people may not see it that way, and they just want to throw some paint on it and go. And they can get lucky. But that's like my work to be my way. And it's just takes a little longer.
I see you picked the motor that was closest to the heater.
Yes, I did.
It is cold.
So this side's about done.
Okay.
And like I said, we got them all to do down here in these. Just takes time to get them all done.
All right, so we got all these pretty much ready for paint, right?
Yeah. So
You got some stuff taped off and the sensors and plugs and all that. So
like assembly line, we'll have 3 of them.
three of them ready to go.
This is what I use. Is just you get it. Any hardware store has it.
Okay.
Lowe's or whatever. I use the odorless. The other's kind of strong. Dollar store is the best one. I've tried all these fancy ones. You get this for $1.88 or something. And I bought a whole sack of these things because they don't last very long. You're running that metal spirits through it and kind of eats up the low ring in it that makes it work. But man, this has lasted longer than the expensive ones. So anyway, what I do is I fill this guy up here and then I'll soak this sucker down everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at this wheel right here, you got a belt that goes in here. And these rib belts, they got to go in here. You don't want to get a whole lot of paint in here. So what I do, I'll spray it and get all this oil residue off of here. And then after it dries, I'll take aluminum foil. And I'll take the aluminum foil and cover this whole pulley. And then I'll respray it after, that. Because you don't want to pile a whole bunch of paint in here because then them ribs are not working the way they need to.
Mm-hmm.
Factory just puts a light coat of black on it whenever they come from factory. It's like you can see what it is, it's kind of a dull black. A lot of people want the shiny stuff, so I can put the shiny on it, but I didn't want to put a whole bunch of buildup on it. But you got to get this all residue out of these, never gonna look right.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so these are about ready to go. You want to get some good gloves. These are like acid gloves. I get them at hardware store. I think these came from Lowe's. This stuff here, you use it a lot. It will damage your skin, so that's where we're at right now. Probably ain't gonna do it today because we got a heater going, but it's really cold and I don't like, putting mineral spirits and it is combustible next to a heater, so we'll wait on a better day. Paint's not gonna dry real good today anyway. The humidity's over 86%, and even your primers, 70-degree weather and below 50 and your humidity would be a perfect paint job. And you can't really judge it, but I mean, as long as it can air dry and it's not cold. But man, this stuff here is like 30 degrees, and it would take a long time for that metal. You got to think what's going underneath the paint you're trying to cook with that paint. It has a chemical to make it bond right. This needs to be a certain temperature, and at 30 degrees, it's not going to bond very good. So that's where we're at today.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to end it off for today for us. It's too cold to paint, and honestly, it's kind of too cold in here to do very much. But we ended up getting the transmissions that we needed. So next weekend, we will be finishing up this 6.6. So it's going to get that 8-speed right there. And then we got a 6-speed and 2 more 8-speeds for the 5.3s that are ready for paint. So hopefully we get some good weather this week, and my dad will get those painted up, and we'll have some more stuff to show y'all next weekend. Anyway, subscribe, like, share, ring the notification bell. Have a good one, and we will see you all on the next one.